Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this one, we're going to be looking at a one-page RPG I found called Tunnel Goons. Now, it's an incredibly simple micro or one-page RPG essentially by this creator right here, Nate Treem. I'm pronouncing his name right, but that's the cover page. This is the character sheet that you have too. There's this is this can be located as usual on itch. There is more than 5 or 6 printable documents that this comes with when you have the option to download it. Different formats of how you can print it. So I printed basically a standard front and back. Now, when I was reading the structure of this system, um, I really liked it. I really did. Now, there is very interesting similarities to, which is common to find, to a system I talked about some time ago called GD20. This one actually credits Tunnel Goons right down here, along with Maze Rats and other ones. So that was a cool little similarity I found because you'll see it mainly has to do with when you're against an obstacle. Mainly this section right here, these two, this example, I should say, and then a few of these difficulty scores. This is a 2d6 system. It's mainly the top page here. It's repeated, so you can cut this in half, fold it, and you can play amongst your friends when you just print more. So sorry, I keep flipping it, thinking it's reversed. But you would print this, cut it in half, and then you would essentially have the rules on the back of a note card or a pamphlet-sized document. Now, to start, the game structure says a referee controls and describes the world to players who then describe how their characters act in the world. You have an action roll. When an action success is uncertain, the player rolls 2d6. So let's have those ready. We'll do some sample test. We're going to do a little sample run after this little read through. 2d6 and add the scores from your character essentially. Your relevant ability and a point for any relevant item. If the total is equal or greater than the action's difficulty score, it is successful. So again, much like G20, it has some recommended difficulties. These ones are a little lower because it's 2d6. It's a 2d6 style system, which is a personal favorite of mine. You have 8 for easy, moderate for 10, 12 for hard. If an action it has a risk of danger, the difference between the roll and the difficulty score is the amount of damage inflicted. So we're now entering essentially what is combat. This example is actually fairly important. As an action, a player character fights a Robo Mantis with a DS of 10. The player rolls a 2d6 and adds 2 from the Brute ability, 1 from Sword, 1 from the Shield. The total is 12. The difference between 12 and 10 is 2, so the creature takes 2 damage. A non-player character, the character's DS, is also their health points. So now the Robo Mantis difficulty, it says, so now the Robo Mantis difficulty score is 8, because like I said, it's tied to their HP. If the roll was 8, then the player character would have lost two health. So that is a straightforward example. Inventory is how many items you can carry comfortably. For each item that exceeds your inventory score, subtract 1 from any brute or skulker rolls. A character dies when the health points is 0. You can advance in this game. You level up every 2 game sessions, so it's kind of like a milestone system. Each level raises a class score by 1 and raises either health or inventory by 1. You can regain health by spending a night in a safe spot. Then there is the abilities, so that's how you create your character section here. There's even some tables. Those every character has a score of 0 or more for these abilities. Brute, good at smacking things, feats or strength, resisting poison, skulker, good at sneaking, aiming, balancing, dodging, so brute, skulker, and then I believe that's pronounced erudite, erudite. erudite, I believe. I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. Good at reading, perception, speaking, remembering. So here's how I see it. Strength, dexterity, and essentially wisdom, intelligence. But if it was comparable to Karen, which I do see some similarities here, you have strength, dexterity, and willpower. Now, for me, for house rule wise, I would call it power, speed, and will, or power, speed, and mind to really simplify it. These are unique words that you typically don't see in these in RPGs. So I really like how they chose these different terms, Skulker and erudite, which I don't believe I've seen that word in a long time. So that's why I act like I'm reading it for the first time. Character creation, you have your name, your character, health points start at 10, inventory starts at 8, and then you roll a d6 on the character tables to determine your starting ability scores and gear. So it's kind of like a class system mixed with profession. There is several childhood profession during the war, so backstory, profession, motive, possibly experience. And then additionally, each character starts with two rations, a cloak of their color of choice, and an item of their choice, pending referee approval. So, how would this be for solo play? I think this would be interesting for solo play because it's so limited. There's a lot of free range to it, make house rules. But if we go back to the character sheet, this is how we're gonna do this. So let's build two characters just off really basic. So name, let's call it. This will be John. This is obviously gonna be me. And then the secondary character will be Smith. This will be me. Max health was 10 to start. Level 1. HP is going to be a 10, 10. And then inventory score was 8. Inventory score was 8. Portrait, we're just going to have a simple stick figure. This guy will be a little shorter. He'll be arms down. So I keep doing that. Next time I'm going to print this where I can flip it up and down. So we're going to roll for the abilities to define our character. So the first character, I'm going to roll a d6 and then 4. So a smoke scrub, that's 1 for strength, sorry, skulker, and a rope. So 1 for skulker, and that's a rope. Then we have the profession. We roll for that. We'll get something different. There we go. 5 erudite, the lantern. 1 for erudite. Erudites. I still think I'm mispronouncing that. Lantern. Okay. And then during the war, this will give us an item. 2, torch. Okay, so this guy, it'll be good for exploring, dungeon diving. Okay, that's the main tunnel. Now the secondary character. Let's roll again. We'll roll 1. He is a desert urchin. Water skin. 1 for the skulker. A water skin. Okay. Now the second one. We'll be rolling 4. Lock snipe again. Actually, no, I haven't had that one before. Lock snipe. A lock pick. 1 for another one for skulker. Okay, so we have 2 for skulker. Whoops. What was it? My mind is lost today. So there's a lockpick. Lockpick. Number of items, we have 3. And then the last one for during the war, 5. Gathered intel, so we have mirrored. Okay. Okay, so both characters have their sheets created. We got 3 items for this guy. Okay, no weapons. Just notice that there's no weapons. Crowbar, a hammer, shovel. So these characters are these are level 0 characters, essentially. They're commoners. But attacking is not really, there is really no armor or weapons in this lore so far, just based on these 3d6 tables. Okay, well let's jump into narrative mode and let's figure this out. Let's make it so our characters, we have John, we have John and Smith. Let's put our pen out, John, so you guys can see it better. There we go. That's better. John and Smith are, let's say, dumpster diving, and then they come across. Let's roll. Let's roll to see if they encounter anything when they're dumpster diving behind a Fry's or a Safeway. 50% chance they do encounter something. Okay, is it a threat? 50% chance. It's not. It is an item. Okay, so it's not a threat. Let's say it is actually, it's an item. It's going to be a pair of fake Nike sneakers. So they find a fake Nike sneakers. These guys are eBay flippers. So I'm going to say that they're going to fight over it. Now, with these guys going to fight over it, here's how it's going to play out. We're not fighting an NPC. I want to see how this works. I mainly want to see how the combat works out. We both have 10. So that means our difficulty score is 10, which I will have Smith be red and then be John will be blue. So if you guys can see it, let's go ahead and begin the fight. So they're fighting over the Nike sneakers. They're tugging on it, standing inside the dumpster, and they are gonna go fisticuffs and to fight to have a danger. We're fighting each other, which is not really covering an example, but we can assume it's just the DC is our health. So the DC does work as an AC. You have to hit that or higher. So as far as tiebreakers, nothing happens. You just re-roll. It kind of cuts down on the narration too. So it's 2d6. I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. I guess it's very simple, but I feel like I'm overcomplicating it. Okay, I'm going to roll all 4 dice. All right, so none of them they fight, but none of them actually one does get a hit in, but no damage. There has to be a difference. Smith didn't cause any damage. So again, we have to re-roll. There we go. Higher numbers are always good. Ah, interesting. Actually, okay, so literally 1 point difference. And I don't think, We both take damage essentially. So here's what happens. 12 and 11. So the damage 12, that'll be 2 above Smith. So I'm thinking that the first one who has the highest we record in detail. We jot it down. So Smith takes 2 damage, so he's down to 8. And then 11 against John, which means he's down to 9. So now our difficulty scores go down technically if we're considering this an NPC. Okay, so we just basically re-roll again. 5, and then it looks like Smith got the better, won that little bout. So 6, 7, 8. It matches, but it's a tiebreaker. However, 10, that's 1 damage against John. So if you guys obviously can see how this goes, it will take a while, but that's essentially how it works. Let's do one more roll. Nothing. Smith is unable to land a blow, and then neither is John. So 7 is too short. They're both at 8 health. Okay, so they realize this little bout is pointless. They're going to both take one of the pair. They're just going to both one hold. They're both going to hold on to one pair of Nike shoes, a half of a Nike, a fake Nike. So half Nike shoe. As silly as it sounds, it's just for a little test run. Half Nike shoe. All right. So now let's test out the concept of healing. So they jump out of the dumpster. They fought over the sneakers combat. They gave up. They settled basically taking half half each, and they're going to take a long rest. They go back in the car. They take a rest. Okay, and a rest healing. It says long, spending the night in a safe spot, but we'll just say it's just 20 minute, just a 20-minute break. So they're going to regain, let's say, 1 HP. So 9, and then now we're going to try combat with an actual NPC. So what do you think would happen when two shady individuals are in the back of a major strip mall dumpster diving, which is legal in some states, from what I understand, or within some district counties, etc. Definitely not my area. But what would be the most likely encounter in the behind a possibly like a delivery truck? I'm going to say security. So the area is kind of shady. We won't have to roll an oracle for this. I'm just moving this example story along. So I'm going to say a security guard pops. A wild security guard appears, and this security guard, based on the rules, has a difficulty of let's say it's Paul Blart. So 8, I'd say, on this overweight security guard about my size. He'll have a DC of 8, or difficulty score of 8. So now he's questioning us against the window and knocks on the window with his mag light, and he says, can you two please tell me what you're doing here?" And John and Smith are kind of looking at each other. We are waiting for someone, so we're gonna have to roll a something to convince him. This will be a action roll when the success is uncertain. I'm gonna say the difficulty of this one will be 10 because the security guard is a little concerned. He's a little suspicious. Either 10 or 12. We'll do both. We have that erudite, erudite. Um, we have 1 for this guy, but none for Smith. So we'll roll 2 and see who is able to kind of condense it all together for the party. And that is a mm, 8 was the, I think 10 was the difficulty. None of them are successful. So I was going to choose the highest roll, which was Smith. But yeah, that security guard does, completely doubts what he says. Yeah, well, yeah, they said waiting for someone. Security guard doesn't believe him. So he's like, I'm going to have to ask you guys to step out of the car. And obviously, John Smith are getting worried, and the security guard is blocking them in a corner so they can't drive away. With his little, he pulled up in a little like a little security a little go-kart. So go-kart is blocking their car, a little security cart, their car in the corner, so they can't drive away. He's asking to step out of the vehicle. They say no. So the security guard gets um, frustrated. He's going to call it in. They say no. Security calls for backup. He steps back. John and Smith get concerned, anxious. They step out of the car. And now let's draw a little map area here. I'm going to say their car is going to be in this corner. The dumpster is right here. A couple of dumpsters. Dumpsters have that little black lid. Two of them, one's a little turned. Maybe that one's open, so the lid's kind of hanging out. There's trash inside, stuff like that. So then the car, they're parked. It's a little sedan. They're parked right here. It's a bird's eye view. It's over the top. They're like that. They're right here, and the security cart is right here. He's parked right there, and then this is the corner I was mentioning. Now it turns back around here. There's a door right here. There's a store. There's a back room access doors right around there, and they're parked practically right there. So we have the security guard right here. We have John on the driver's side. We have Smith on the passenger side. And suddenly, calling them in, another squad car of security pulls up, and two guards pop out, holding their mag lights, ready to cause some trouble. So it is now an encounter. Here's what I'm going to do. There is no initiative roll, but with some house rules, we'll just roll against. We'll do an action roll for initiative, essentially. I'm rolling basically based on who rolls higher. So that's not in the rules, but we will do that. So let's roll all these four dice. The red is the enemy, blue is our team, and red goes first. So we have a health of 9 and 9. So this guard is going to strike John. So I'm going to say guard 1, 2, 3. This guy is going to strike John. He's going to roll a his own action roll against ours, which it has to beat our health, essentially, because that represents our DS. 5. He's unable to. Okay, next is guard 2. Guard 2 has a slingshot. He's going to fire. He misses. Guard 3 has a, let's say, just happens to have a bow and arrow because he works at the sports department, and he also misses. So now it's our turn. Difficulty wise, I'm going to say that this guy is an 8. This guy's a 10. This guy's an 8. So he's probably the boss, or he's the captain on duty. Okay, now it's our turn to roll. John is going to make the first move against the closest security guard with his. He runs in to deal a landing blow, and that's 1. So now John is right up close. I don't have to make all these little adjustments, but he swings and punches. I don't think there's a modifier for, nope, there's no modifiers. So 9. Now this guy is down to 7. Now it's Smith's turn. Smith is going to pop out of there and attack the same security guard. Let's roll. Has to be 7-er. Well, it has to be 8 essentially. 7 is going to be not good. It's a tiebreaker. So I think in G20 rules it says if it's equal to PC and JM narrate a awkward exchange. Okay, we won't have to go that. We won't have to do that. Okay, so let's just say it's a reroll. 2-2, so it's a miss. Okay, now it's back to security guards. They have to attack. If they get closer, let's just say they move in closer. We'll just do this. So guard 1 is going to attack John. John has 9, and that is well, it's a block. It doesn't. It's 9, but it doesn't hurt him. Guard 2 strikes Smith, and that is going to be a hit. Smith takes 1 damage from the 10. That's now an 8, making that 9 and 8. Okay, Smith security 3 is going to strike John, and that is a miss. So now it's our turn. This is pretty much how I see combat happening. A lot of rolls, repetition. You don't really have to narrate anything, as I have been. But John is going to go for the closest guard, and that's a 6. That's a miss, even though his health is lower. Smith is going for security guard 1 because he's closest. That's an 8, and 8 actually is a hit. That's a 6 now. Okay, now we have to go back to the security guards. Security is going to be a 9, and that does actually do damage. Well, it was against John, so no damage. Security 2 is going to attack Smith. That's a complete miss. And then the last guard is going to. Ooh, that's a good hit. I'm going to say that's against Smith. So Smith takes. That's 4 between 8 to 12. That's 4 damage. So now, uh-oh, Smith is down, and he's down to 4, which is a good hit. Now it's going to be our turn. John goes for the closest security guard. They try to take him down first. 9. That's a hit. That's a hit difference of 3. So now this security guard is on his knees, panting, hurt, coughing out blood in this fictional fight. And then we're rolling for Smith. That is this against security guard number 1. That is going to hit. And that is a 5, 6, 7. That is a difference plenty enough to knock this guard unconscious. He's not dead, he's just unconscious. Not promoting violence against security guards. So he's out. This guy is unconscious. Okay, now it's down to the last security guards. They arrange the weapons, whatever they're holding. So against John, security guard 1 does some damage. That's a 10, which is only a difference of 1. So that's a 8. John is now down to 8. And then now it's security guard 3. That's going to be 8, and that's a difference. Oh, yeah. So 4. Smith collapses. He's unconscious. So Smith is out. That's no good. No bueno. Smith is out. He's 0. And I think per the rules, when you reach a 0, they die. So Smith turns into a ghost, and he floats away. Smith is no longer a character. And so what happens, now it's our turn. We're going to use a move. We're going to get his Nike shoes that he left behind because we're selfish like that. So that's gone. Nike shoe. Now we have the complete set of fake Nike shoes that we think are real. So we get that. Now we're going to attack. Security guard 2 with whatever weapon I can just pretend like he has. That's a 6 against neither of them. Okay, now it's the guard's turn. Security guard 2. I'm a little worried here. 9 against an 8. That's a damage of 1. John is down to 7. John is missing his comrade, but also laughing about it. All right, security guard 3. Ooh, that's a 10. So that's going to be 3 damage more. Now we're really in trouble here. So that's 3 damage, 654. Okay, quick thinking. We have a lantern, so John's going to throw a lantern at their vehicle to cause it to explode. I'd say this probably difficulty of 10, so we really have to roll this one good. This is our attack. And that's a no-go. The lantern hits the front of the security cart and bounces off, cracking with no explosion. So that's a fail. Now it's back to security guards. I guess that's more of a using item, so we will attack. That's an item use if we're thinking D&D. We're attacking, no good. Yep, still 10 and 8. Okay, now it's the guard's turn. And man, they're really rolling well. 10 is going to cause some big trouble. That's 6 damage. John is out. He is dead. That's a 0. We have lost the bout between the security guards. Probably too high of difficulties, but now I know. This was the point to test it out, the sample. I personally think, let's look at it like this. We have 2d6s. You have a margin of from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whoops, 11, 12. I'm hoping to spread that out a little less. But basically, the game recommends 8 for easy, 10 for moderate, and then 12 for impossible if you have hard, I should say, if you have modifiers. I don't think that's. Hmm, why not have it like this? You have these 4 numbers here, these 4, and then these 3. So these 4, you can put the difficulty. 4 can be easy, like a Womp would be easy. 8 would be normal, moderate. Hard would be 12 or somewhere between 12, 10 to 12. I think based on the narrative, that's really up to the referee if this would be hard. So, especially for NPCs, because the difficulty score is based on health, is related to health, relative to health. These are probably more applicable. So this guy, the first guard we ran into, could have been a 4. These other 2 that rolled in on their pitmobile could have been a 8 and another 4. So the captain on duty and then the other grunt. So 10, 12, maybe bosses perhaps, dragons or that's how I see this. Because you have this little range here, and as it gets more difficult, your window closes between these 4. Then you have these 3 to mess with, to kind of shift around you shift around this bar, this difficulty. That's how I see it. And then on everything else, advancing you every 2 game sessions, I think that's fair. I mean, such a small game. It's a 2d6 game. You don't want your characters to become gods after a couple rounds. The item limit is fair because it's almost as Karen, which has 10 item limits, obviously with bulk items, which I don't really count. And there is some free-form house rules you can throw in here, like we did with using an item and such. But this is a good little foundation for something simple. And I obviously I think this game is made for all ages. With has the friendly graphic here, kid-friendly graphic, and the Tunnel Goons titles is funny and it's a good little family game. Something quick you can play for a couple, half an hour, maybe an hour, couple of people, 3, 4 people, friends, what have you, whatever age you are. But I think for my channel, um, I'm always in the hunt for like the perfect one-page RPG that I can use for a long campaign. And obviously, I think with Misfortune, I went back to using D&D because GD20 was interesting. Now, GD20 has more to it, obviously, than what's it called? Tunnel Goons. With G20 was made by they didn't have a character sheet with it, so I'll have to actually just write it down. The G20 was made by these guys here, if you can see it. Cosmic Sorcery Society, licensed under Creative Commons Comrades License Agreement 1.0, apparently. It's just one page. There is no backside. There's no tables. It's just this. So again, similar, but it works on a single D20. It does not work on 2D6. The entire game is based on one D20. So that is that has more range for error too. It does have more range for success and error. So I'm thinking of the possibilities here. I believe I did another video like this. It might have been the ones I took down, but I do remember talking about this one page RPG, and I did have some interaction with a couple of you guys. So the action roll is similar, but it's with a D20. There's a difficulty score. Proficiency is based on your character, which there is more to your character compared to Tunnel Goons, and then the difficulty scores are scene 12, average is 6, tough is 12, 20. Now, again, you're always free to move over those. A 5 is easy, 10's normal, 15's hard. That's how I see it in D&D. 20 is impossible. 25 is just like straight up insane. But confrontation is always the tough part for me. So with a single D20, if we're against the character, let's say our character is we have one character here against three enemies, and they have difficulties of, let's say, 5, 5, and 10. Our guy has. We're not going to worry about the character creation. That's always going to depend on the ability scores on combat. So fighting strength. Let's say our fighting strength is 2. You have +2 on fighting strength. This is just a regular rock'em sock'em fight. Hands, fisticuffs, whatever. Here's how it goes. You roll from what I'm looking at here. If it's below their HPDS, you take the damage. If it's equal, you re-roll essentially. It says it's an awkward exchange, but I rather re-roll. Or you can consider it a block, a stalemate, or you both take one damage. I've always considered that as an option before I even came across this game. When I was making my own rules, house rules. Oh look, I set down a perfect 20. When I was considering my own house rules, anything that I rolled equal was not a stalemate, but a clash causing one damage for both sides. I think it depends on the severity of the situation. And then it says above is a hit with the difference being damage. So let's try it. We go first. We're rolling d20, and we got interference. Let's roll on the roller. So 9 against 5. So that's 4 damage. So he's down to 1. Okay, now they roll. I'll use a red die for theirs. Our difficulty score is essentially I don't have one actually. Oh yeah, I forgot I need HP. I forgot about that. HP is 10. Okay. Plus the toughness is 2, so our health is going to be 10 HP. I'll put it over here just so I can work my way down. But we have +2 against whatever they roll. Okay. So they roll. Oops. I'm going to roll it back on the table here. They roll. Let's try that again. A 2. That's no good. That's the first guy. Roll again. 8. That's no good. They roll third time. Whoops. Roll third time. 11 is actually going to not hit. So Fortitude is one of the character um, strengths. So essentially it's 12 for us. Maybe. It doesn't say to count that. Confrontations between PCs and their skills may play out in any number of ways of PCs using their skills, possessions, and ingenuity ingenuity to overcome their opposition against action rolls. So they have to roll 12 or higher, which they did not. So I'm going to count my skill, my attribute, ingenuity, against their roll. So they didn't land a hit. Now it's our turn. 15. That we're going to use against the big guy. So he's 5 now. All right. That's all we can do. They roll. 17 is a pretty good hit, actually. That's a difference of 12 to 17. That's 5. So we're down to 5 now. But our difficulty score is still 7. You see how there's no weapons in this? I'm not using any other dice. That is the downside to this, I would say. Now it's our turn. 10. That's going to be enough to take out any of these guys. I'm going to say this guy's gone, so he's out. It's their turn. I don't think I rolled for all of them. I forgot. 17 again, and that knocks our guy out. So, yeah, game over. Character's dead. Not too sure what to think about that, but we're glad I'm trying it out. So, this game is interesting, a little flawed in combat, but I think this can be fudged, or I'm reading it wrong. But there is no perfect system when it comes to one-page RPGs. I do like this one a little better in terms of combat because of that little more played out RPG or played out combat sequence we had, even though we lost both characters. But I think that's because we had too much, too high difficulty set against our low range characters. But either way, these systems are fine. They're interesting. They're fun for one shot, quick little family get togethers, friends get togethers. But for long play, I think for goons, that would be very challenging. For tunnel goons, that'd be challenging. So, there's always D&D, there's always Karen, there's Maze Rats that I have experience with on the side. Systems like that would be good because they're rules light, but they have enough to last longer. But these are fun. Like lasers and feelings. This one, G20, there's the hacks of lasers and feelings. Those are great for if I have videos that go on for just a couple episodes. But if I have the videos that are like the misfortune, or even the one I have going for this, which is Search for Lasky, I'm using World of Dungeons. Now, World of Dungeons is definitely an interesting case because it doesn't have a combat system, but it has this unique old school OSR feeling where it has leveling up an advancement system. I'm personally using it milestone, not with the XP, because there is an XP chart which I didn't print, regrettably. But the character sheet has room to advance. There's hit dice. You have hit points. You have all these skills and special abilities and items and weapons. You can assign dice to weapons. Dice type. I have the quest characters and quotes. So, and this is from episode 2, which I killed I killed 2 goblins. But yeah, World of Dungeons is good for mid-range short campaigns. The only downside people can see it as is it doesn't have a combat system. But at that point, you make your own. And I think I kind of did. I was improvising combat in the last episode based on 2d6 rolls. So it's always an experiment with this on my channel. My whole channel is an experiment. It's not meant to be taken seriously. It's just the fun of RPG, to be honest. And yeah, so that's a look at tunnel goons and mispronouncing that word. And then we looked a little bit at GD20 and then talked about other systems here. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on 830 RPG.